Hello. It's the eve of our Cohos wrap-up hike. So we're starting tomorrow morning and we're going to finish about 35 miles.
About almost 40,
Okay.
A little more than 40 miles tomorrow to finish the rest of the trail.
So we've been working on the Cohos for a couple of years, chipping away at it. It's a 170-mile hike. Jim will outline for you what it looks like on the map. Unfortunately, they're calling for rain, so we're going to have to deal with that again.
Yeah, so on Thursday night into Friday morning, some rain that we'll have to deal with, and hopefully that'll be the only night that we need to deal with it.
Yeah, so stay tuned. He'll go over the map, and we'll have more for you tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, as Shelley said, we've been chipping away at this trail for a couple of years, and now we're into about the last 40 miles of it, this last section. Cohos Trail is a relatively unknown trail, even in New England. It's pretty young. It's only about 20 years old, and it's kind of stitched together from a series of road walks, snowmobile trails, existing hiking trails, and it stretches from the Canadian border in northern New Hampshire to the White Mountains. And so all told, it's about 170 miles of varied hiking. There's quite a variety here. It doesn't completely beat you up like the long trail does the entire way. But in the southern section, when you hit the Kilkenny Ridge and the White Mountains, it does get difficult. And the weather can get very unpredictable, especially in the White Mountains. It has a reputation for being some of the most unpredictable and harsh weather in the United States. So given that we're doing this in October, we are preparing for winter conditions. You do not want to be caught unprepared in the White Mountains. It's very dangerous if you are. So we're bringing our winter jackets and long underwear, and we obviously have our down sleeping bags and winter grade ground pads to stay warm. And we're also anticipating that there could be snow or ice on some of the high peaks in the presidential range. So we're taking micro spikes as well. So with all this equipment, food and water, we'll probably be carrying about 30 pounds in our backpack, and don't like to carry quite that heavy, but there's really no option. You'd rather have this stuff with you if you need it than not have it. So that's what we anticipate for this last section. So last time we stopped at Jefferson. We came down Star King Trail last fall, and we walked to a hotel, Lantern Inn, on Route 2, and concluded our hike there last year. And we're going to pick up there again this year, leave the car at that hotel, walk down the road on day one, do this first leg, which is a road walk down to the Pondicherry Wildlife Refuge, go around the Wildlife Refuge, hit another trail, the Presidential Range Rail Trail, come out of that, and then hit the first significant peak, Owl's Head. You can see it's very steep here with these contour lines. Hit Owl's Head, and then get to Mount Martha, continue on along this ridge, make our way down to Cherry Mountain Trail, down to the Cherry Mountain campgrounds or campsites that the Forest Service has in this area. So we hope to be in this area at the end of day one, and that would be about a 16-mile day. And conclude our day there. Then on day 3, day 2, we want to start at this campsite, work our way down this dirt road where the Forest Service has all these campsites available, hit the highway, and then we will be in the range of the Bretton Woods Resort. You have to do a road walk down to the resort. Bretton Woods is very famous for a World War II conference there. About the U.S. dollar is the the reserve currency of the world. It was held at this resort, 1944-45. We'll go around the resort into the Forest Service land again and try to make our way up Edmunds Path, start ascending into the Presidential Range, hit Mount Eisenhower, go down the Eisenhower Trail to the Dry River, and work our way up to the Dry River Shelter at the end of day 2. That's very ambitious. That should be a 16 mile day at the end of day 2. So day 3 begins at Dry River Shelter, work our way back to the Cohos Trail, hit the Isolation Trail, work our way up Isolation, and then down the Davis Path, which is a long path down. We want to get all the way down this path on day 3 and swing around to this campground, which is off the trail by a couple miles. So day 3 is another very ambitious day. It should be about 12 miles of hiking. And then on the last day, we want to have a short hike, because our shuttle will pick us up at 3, is to leave from this campsite here, make our way back to the Cohos Trail, which is really the Davis Trail, head down the Davis Trail to the parking area and get our shuttle. And that's going to be about a 6 mile day.
So we're road walking and the sun's coming up, but the moon's still out. So this is what road walking's all about. This is what I get to look at when I'm road walking. Jim. The back of Jim. And the trees, the occasional car, and the sun coming up. Hi. So that's Mount Martha in the distance. That's where we're heading up and over today. So this part of the road walking is complete, and now we're heading to the wildlife refuge. And this is going to be the Colonel Whipple Trail. Yeah. So from now on, we should see these blazes. The yellow is the Cohos Trail. And Jim is getting us registered. So we've been on trail, but it's all been road walk. Now we get to be on trail, which I much prefer. How about you, Jim?
Yes, very much.
All right, so we're on a break. And according to Jim, I think he's being generous. He says we've done how many miles?
6.5.
All right, that's pretty good because it's what time?
It's 8:45.
8:45, but we did start early. And we're in this wildlife refuge. And we're looking at a beautiful pond. I wish I knew the name of it, but I don't.
Pondicherry, I think, or something like that.
Cherry?
Pondicherry.
Pondicherry. And yeah, the sun has come out, which is awesome. So Jim, what is your snack bar called?
Fit Crunch.
Fit Crunch. This is a new thing we're trying. It's supposed to have a lot of protein in it. 30 grams of protein and 6 grams of sugar, which isn't bad. And it's gluten-free.
Gluten-free. Oh boy.
Fit Crunch. Made by Robert Irving. And he is not paying us for this commercial.
It's pretty tasty.
Okay. And I am trying a honey stinger waffle. I tried to find these honey stinger chews, but I can't find them anywhere. So I am trying this. It's only 140 calories, but it's supposed to give you a lot of good energy. I'll let you know later. So I think what we're looking at in distance here is Mount Martha, which we're going to be climbing next. Once we can work our way around this pond and onto the trail and up and over. And you can see a lot of clouds. I'm hoping they're gonna move off just in time for us to get to the top and down. We'll see. But great break spot. So now we're on the Presidential Rail Trail. Just ran into some nice people who are out on a bike ride. And I guess is this still the Wild Refuge?
Yes.
Okay. We're having early lunch. It's 10:47. We found a stream here at the base of Owl's Head. We start climbing after lunch. First it's Owl's Head, then it's Martha. But we're doing good. We're 9.7 in, 9.6 miles in. And that's pretty awesome for us, but we did start quite early. And Jim, what are you having for lunch?
I'm having tuna salad and crackers.
What kind of crackers?
Ritz crackers.
Okay. Top of Owl's Head. Very windy. Almost killed me. Pretty steep up. It's all socked in, so you can't really see anything. And it's very windy and starting to rain. So we're gonna get down. Day 2. We're having lunch. We're in a little shelter that we found on the B&M Trail.
Behind the Bretton Woods Resort, and we're headed toward Edmonds Path to ascend up Mount Eisenhower tomorrow. It's been pouring rain for the past 24 hours or so, so it's been a lot of trouble. So we're not going to try to do Eisenhower today in the rain and the fog, and get to Edmonds Path and find a camping spot there.
So we're just hoping we can find a good spot because it's not well, it is it identified or is it more stealth?
It's stealth, kind of a stealth camping spot.
Yeah.
Find a place off the trail, a couple hundred feet, and make it home.
So honestly, this kind of rain and hiking, it really sucks.
Yeah, it makes everything 100% more difficult.
Our stuff's pretty much wet. We're trying to keep our dry stuff dry, but boy, it was quite a hurdle this morning to get everything in the pack without it getting wet. So, we just had some lunch. What did you have?
I had my tuna, again, the crackers, and some cheese. And luckily we found this little shelter to take a break and have lunch and keep dry. But I'm going to push on a couple more miles.
I had tuna, crackers, I had cheese, and I had one of these honey stinger waffles. So, we should be all fueled up and stay tuned. Hopefully when we get back to you, the rain will have stopped. Good morning, day 3, and we are under a tarp that Jim rigged up for us. This was a great idea. So since the experience we had in Yellowstone when we were without any coverage and the downpour was happening and our tent was already really wet, it would have been nice to have a tarp where you could at least sit under it to eat. And he realized before we left out on this trip that we actually had a tarp we could use from
our hammock sets.
Yeah, hammock set. So I'll show you what this looks like. It's not much, it's extremely light, but it really does the trick. Yeah, so we have Hennessy hammocks. We don't use them that much anymore because of where we've been hiking. But this is the tarp, and it works great. It gives us a little coverage, and then also this is what our water filtration system looks like. It's a platypus and it's a gravity feed, and we only use this at the end of the day when we're getting water for dinner and for overnight. During the day we actually use Aquamira tablets and find that's a quicker way to be able to stay hydrated. So Jim, what did you have for breakfast?
I had my bagel and almond butter again.
Yeah, you're liking the bagels.
I like it. It sticks with me.
And then this is what one would call a gear explosion,
Yeah.
which is a common term in the hiking community, and we definitely have that going on right now.
Get my meal for the day set.
So we ended up finding a spot it's on forest land, right?
Yes.
To camp last night, because our grand plans of camping at a spot that we had heard about along the Edmonds Path, it didn't work out, and we couldn't locate it, and we also would have had to go through a lot of water to get to the possibility of it, so we decided to backtrack and camp here. And this is kind of what it looks like. I'll show you our tent a little bit later.
So last night while we were at our tent, we're near Edmonds Path, probably not even a half mile to Edmonds Path. About 3 in the morning, we woke up to this sound that kind of sounded like what I thought was a bird crying, or an owl or something like that, but we think it was a moose in a rut calling. Kind of this grunting and kind of grunt shriek thing he was doing, and we heard him crashing through the brush and heading off to find a date. So that was kind of interesting. Moose are more dangerous than bears, so I'm glad we didn't run into them, especially moose in rut.
Why are they more dangerous?
They're just blind with hormones, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But they're a dangerous animal, so best to stay away from them. And I'm glad he ran off. So that was our night. It was, despite a wet day, our dry stuff remained pretty dry, and once we got into our bags, whatever dampness there was in there just kind of evaporated when we got into them, and we slept really great, nice and warm. So we're going to head up to Mount Eisenhower, and it's supposed to be sunny but very windy today, and I'm sure it'll be colder and windier as we get near the top. And we're going to try to today get to a shelter on the other side of Eisenhower. We probably have a 10-mile day, 10-12 miles today, but hopefully we can get up to there without too many stream crossings, because the water is high after all that rain. All right.
Okay, well, we hiked 2.9 miles, which seemed like forever. Took us a long time. It's a very steep ascent, but we are at the top here of the what path did we just do?
Crawford.
No, Edmonds. We did the
Edmonds Path.
Edmonds path, and now we're at this intersection where there are like all these opportunities for the presidential range, and the sun is out and it's glorious. Just glorious. Let me just show you one other bit here. Yeah. So, more views coming. So we are taking advantage of the sun and we are resting. Excuse me. And we are trying to get our tent and all our shit to dry out because this is a grand opportunity. And I myself am feeling nauseated today. Not sure what's going on, but I need to eat food and hydrate and recover. Look at all the mountains over on that side.
I know.
Gosh. Hello, it's day 4. I didn't film a lot yesterday because after the peaks, when we were up high, I started feeling really sick. So I kind of just put the camera away and tried to just get to our campsite, which took us a long journey. We did not start at making camp until probably close to 8. So there was quite a bit of night hiking involved. And the terrain's been ass-kicking hard. But we are on the Davis path now, heading out. And we've got some beautiful views here, so I will turn it around and let you see. This is a nice little overlook here. A lot of rock that we're walking on. We're passing a lot of day hikers and they must smell the stench coming off of us. They do smell really good. So the views today just keep on giving. This is pretty awesome. So we think straight ahead is Mount Crawford. What do you think that big one is there? The one that drops off?
I don't know.
Yeah, so these are the whites. We're on the last little bit here. We're almost approaching the trailhead. And then we will have completed the Cohos. Jim has approached the kiosk. And of course he got here first. Get the liquor out.
Well, we have to get a selfie in front of the sign.
Okay. But let's, holy mackerel. We did complete it.
The Cohos Trail.
Okay, Jim. So now that you've completed the Cohos Trail, what would you say on this leg of the trip was your most memorable?
Gosh, I think getting up on Mount Eisenhower and the view of the presidentials.
Okay.
And how the environment changed up there
Yeah.
so dramatically.
Yeah.
and then doing my first river crossing.
No.
And I'm glad I didn't know it was a dangerous river crossing until after we crossed it.
And then we
the
read
guidebook.
that they said, oh yes, this can get very dangerous.
Can get very dangerous. So glad I didn't know that before.
And what would your least favorite thing be on this leg of the Cohos?
The downs, the trails in New England just beat you up. It's rock and root and down. There's nothing easy about it.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all. It just beats you up.
Okay.
All right. So what's your
Hello.
What's your least favorite part of the trip?
Least favorite.
Least favorite.
I feel that there were some parts of the trail that, like around isolation, that yesterday, when we were trying to pick up the trail and it was so poorly marked and we had to cross that river, but there was no sign that we were heading for the right trail. I hated that. And it was bushwhacking and it took a lot of time that we didn't have to spare.
Okay, and your most favorite?
And my most favorite was that there was this sense of total euphoria after that long slog up the Edmonds path to get to the top. And when you see like this gateway to this whole other world up there, and you understand why there's people that are like completely addicted to these 4,000 foot mountains and higher, and why they would want to bag peaks, because when you're up there, I mean, do you see that guy that was passing us and he was like moving like really fast, and clearly he was on a mission to do some kind of like circuit of the presidential. So anyway, that was my first time up there, and to be able to see so close, even though we didn't get up to Washington, we were so close. And it was just, that was beautiful. And also the sun was out, so we got to dry our shit.
Okay. Yeah. That was a nice treat.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Okay, on day one, what actually happened? Our plan on day one went, as we thought it would. So we started at the hotel, made our road walk. It was all flat. We were really burning up the miles. Made an amazing amount of progress. By lunch, hit Owl's Head, and that was straight up, and that really burned out our legs. Made it to Martha's Mile and Mount Martha, and it was beginning to mist, and the wind was starting to come up as we were up there, and things started to get wet. So we made it across the ridge, down Cherry Mountain Road, made it to where we wanted to go on day one at this campsite. And that night there was a steady pouring rain during the night that made everything for the next 24 hours pretty challenging as far as keeping things dry, and just miserable because you had to walk through the mud and the water. So day one went according to plan. We did about 16 miles as expected. Day two, I had thought that we could get from this area all the way down around Bretton Woods, up Edmonds Path, down Mount Eisenhower into Dry River Shelter, and that was just very unrealistic, especially given the rain. So we made it as far as the trailhead to Edmonds Path. And it rained steadily all day. We must have had 2 or 3 inches. And we'd hoped to find a camping spot here. Getting across these rivers to Edmonds Path and up Eisenhower was just not going to happen. The rivers were too high to cross. We felt if we tried, we could slip and get our stuff all wet. And this area didn't have any camp spots that we could find, and everything was wet and boggy. So we camped down in here on the other side of Clinton Road, found a level spot and made camp there for the night on the end of day 2. And that was only a 9.4 mile day. So on the 3rd day, we got up, the weather cleared. We managed to get up Edmonds Path. The rivers had died down through here and we could make progress, and got up Eisenhower to the top, and we could see the the environment change here on the top of the ridge in the presidential range. We moved our way down the Eisenhower Trail to the dry river, and this is where things got tricky again. So we had to do a river crossing, which we did not anticipate. I thought there might be a footbridge over this river, but there isn't. It's just too big a river. So we were lucky that we waited another 24 hours, because had we made it this far the day before, the river would have been just completely impassable. So we had to wade that, and that was a bit of a pucker factor because it was knee deep, thigh deep to get across. Then we had to get up Isolation Trail, and that was difficult to find the trail without GPS because areas had been washed out. It was difficult to see where the trail began again after the washout, so GPS was very important. So on the third day, we made it all the way up on Isolation Trail and found a camp spot in this area near Isolation at the end of day 3. And that was only about a 7.8 mile day. And we made camp there about 7 o'clock at night, so we'd used up all of our daylight hours for hiking, and we're pretty exhausted. So on the fourth day, we had to get from this point on Isolation, or just north of Isolation, and try to get all the way down to the end of the trail, which is about 10 miles. And we needed to get there by 3 o'clock to have our shuttle pick us up. So we woke up extra early, started hiking about 6 a.m. and made our way down with the Davis Path, which is also part of the Cohos Trail. And this was a rather more rugged part than we anticipated. A lot of hard up and down on these ridges. Made it past Stairs Mountain, and then the last 2 miles were also very difficult because it's almost, as you can see from the contour lines, this is very steep and rocky and difficult to get down. And luckily we had the ability to text with our shuttle driver, and he gave us another half hour. So we made it down to the end by about 3:15 for a 3:30 pickup. So we had about 15 minutes to spare. And so we really had to hustle through this 10 miles. We didn't take lunch or many breaks at all. And so our feet and back and legs were really burned out by the time we were done, but we managed to finish it. So all told, we did about 43.5 miles to get to the end. And a rough estimate of the total up and down that we did was about 15,500 feet of elevation gain and loss over those 43 miles.